The courtroom was silent. Quiet, not just quiet, but the kind of silence that's heavy, thick, like the air itself is breathing a slow mechanical breath. Outside, chaos seethed. Cameras popped like lightning. Fans hollered, reporters yelled, and each and every one of them wanted the same thing: the truth regarding what actually transpired between Kody and Robyn Brown. Within, under the harsh radiance of cold fluorescent lights, the Brown family's worst moment was about to be written. Robyn sat by herself at the plaintiff's table. She wasn't in her customary soft colors or her serene, guarded smile. Today she was fragile, a woman stripped bare to raw hurt. Her hands shook as she clutched one photograph, her children smiling with Kody, back when love still existed between them. Her lips trembled as she ran her thumb along the edges of that photograph. How had it come to this, she thought. The man who used to be her protector now stood in opposition to her, determined to destroy what little family they had remaining. The creak of the big oak doors broke the silence. Kody Brown walked in. The echo of his footsteps reverberated through the room. Firm, calculated, almost practiced. His head was high, his golden hair drawn back sharply, his eyes sharp and cold. He did not look in the direction of Robyn. He did not even flinch in her direction. This was not the same man who stood before her years ago and vowed to love her through all things. This was a stranger, calculated, aloof, threatening. Robyn's breath snagged as Kody settled into his seat next to his attorney. She needed to speak, to say something, anything. But her throat constricted. Images flooded her head like a sad movie reel. The laughter, the wedding, the late-night conversations where he'd refer to her as his soul connection. The hand that once held hers now wouldn't even glance in her direction. The judge came in, and all of them stood. Back row cameras softly snapped pictures, taking in the instant that would eventually cover every American headline. Kody Brown versus Robyn Brown. The custody war no one predicted. When they sat back down, Kody's attorney, a lanky guy with wire-rimmed glasses and a voice for authority, rose first. He cleared his throat. "Your Honor," he began, "we're here today because my client Mr. Kody Brown believes that Mrs. Robyn Brown is unfit to share custody of their children." The words sliced through the room like a knife. Gasps filled the air. Reporters leaned forward. Even Robyn's own attorney froze for a moment, stunned. Kody's accusation wasn't just legal, it was personal. It was betrayal, wrapped in polished legal language. Robyn's heart pounded. She felt her palms grow sweaty, her throat dry. "Unfit," she whispered under her breath, barely able to believe what she'd heard. Kody adjusted his tie, keeping his eyes straight ahead. Not once did he turn to face her. The judge looked up, clearly surprised. "Mr. Brown," she said, "this is a serious claim. You're saying the mother of your children is unfit to co-parent?" Kody nodded, his expression unreadable. "Yes, Your Honor." Robyn's voice cracked as she finally spoke. "You said we'd never turn on each other." Every head turned. Her voice, though soft, echoed painfully in the quiet courtroom. Kody didn't respond. His jaw clenched. For a brief second, his eyes flickered. Maybe guilt, maybe regret, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. The judge gestured for order. "Mrs. Brown, please address your remarks through your attorney." But Robyn wasn't finished. Her voice cracked again, trembling but filled with emotion. "You said I was the only one who really knew you, Kody. You said I was your last hope for love. And now you're doing this." Kody shifted uncomfortably, but his lawyer cut in, speaking coldly. "Your Honor, we request that Mrs. Brown avoid emotional outbursts. My client is here to defend the health of his children, not to satisfy personal complaints." The audience shifted uncomfortably in disapproval. Even the judge looked stern. Robyn's lawyer, a soft-spoken woman in her 50s, gently touched Robyn on the arm. "Let me talk," she whispered. Looking at the judge, she asserted firmly, "Your Honor, my client has loved these children, worked hard for them, and given them stability. This accusation is unfounded, and quite simply, cruel. We will establish that this case is about control, not concern." Kody's attorney smiled skeptically. "We'll see about that." The judge nodded. "We'll start with opening statements tomorrow morning." But as the gavel struck the bench, Robyn's world was already in pieces. As the courtroom emptied, Robyn remained seated. Everyone departed. The reporters, the onlookers, even the bailiff who threw her a sympathetic smile. She couldn't rise. The space surrounding her was thick. Her hands shook as she looked at the vacant chair opposite her. Kody's chair. How many dinners had they sat together as a family, mapping out their future? How many nights had he promised her that she'd never be alone in the world? And now, she was completely alone, waiting in a stranger's courtroom, battling the man who had sworn to take care of her. Her attorney leaned forward quietly. "Robyn, you must go home and rest. Tomorrow will be difficult." Robyn nodded feebly, but as she stood up, her knees almost buckled. She braced herself against the table, still holding on to that photo of her children. On the reverse of the photo, in pale pen, were these words, "Forever family, no matter what." She clutched it to her heart and whispered, "You promised." Outside the courthouse, meanwhile, Kody stood surrounded by reporters and cameras. Reporters bombarded him with questions. "Mr. Brown, why are you battling for custody? Did something occur between you and Robyn? Are the other wives involved?" Kody held up his hands for quiet. His voice was calm, almost practiced. "I'm doing what's right for my children," he said. "That's all that matters." But behind that tranquil face, something else lurked. His eyes flashed away when somebody asked, "Do you still love Robyn?" He didn't respond. He simply turned, entered his black SUV, and drove away, leaving behind a media firestorm and a woman whose heart was shattering within. That evening, Robyn sat by herself in her living room. The house was too still, the kind of stillness that once comforted her, but now seemed haunted. Her kids were sleeping upstairs. She didn't want them to witness her crying once more. She took out her phone and glared at the contact image of Kody. It had been a smiley face photo of them both when they were still happy together. Now she'd changed it to a gray empty icon. She sent a message. "Why are you doing this? We can make it right, please. The kids don't deserve this." She saw the dots pop up, then vanish. No response. After a couple of minutes, her phone rang. A voicemail alert. From an unknown number. She hesitated, then played it. Kody's voice on the message was cold and detached. "You made your choice, Robyn. Now I'm making mine. I warned you not to push me." Her heart ached. She replayed the message twice, hoping she'd misheard the words. But it was true. She held the phone against her chest, saying softly, "What happened to us?" The following morning, as she returned to the courthouse, the rumors trailed behind. Reporters were calling her the fallen favorite. Some labeled her as a liar, others as the victim. But Robyn didn't care what anyone else thought now. She just wanted her kids safe, and the truth to be told. As she resumed her seat, something caught her attention. Kody's attorney was clutching a fat brown folder labeled confidential. Her stomach churned. She had no idea what was in there, but she could feel it. Something was brewing. And whatever it wasn't just custody, it was betrayal. The man who once held her life in his hands was now her biggest danger. And Robyn deep inside knew this was just the start of the war. The sun came through tall windows in the courtroom, casting long shadows on the shiny floor. The atmosphere was charged, like everyone knew something enormous was going to occur. Robyn again sat at her table, hands wrapped tightly around each other, eyes on the door. Her attorney spoke softly to her. "Don't worry, no matter what they mentioned today." But Robyn deep inside knew there was no remaining calm. There was only survival. Kody entered a few minutes later. This time he didn't look at her at all, not even for a second. His expression was stone cold, the kind of look that said, "I've already won." Robyn's heart raced. Something was off. The way his lawyer carried that thick brown folder, marked confidential, sent chills down her spine. The judge seated herself. "Court is now in session," she announced. "Mr. Brown, your side may proceed." Kody's attorney rose, adjusted his tie, and strode to the middle of the room with confident quiet. He brandished the folder. "Your Honor," he started, "what I'm going to lay out may be hard to listen to, but it's crucial that this court know the real truth about Mrs. Brown's actions and mental state." Robyn scowled, a look of confusion on her face. Her attorney jumped up immediately. "Objection. Your Honor, what's in that folder?" The judge put on her glasses. "Counsel, go ahead, but tread carefully with your assertions." The attorney reached in and opened the folder, taking out a sheaf of printed papers. Old letters, slightly yellowed with age. These, he said theatrically, holding them high for the court to witness, are letters that were written by Mrs. Robyn Brown to her former husband. The courtroom erupted into whispers. Robyn stiffened. Her heart pounded in her ears. What? She breathed softly. No, her attorney jumped up at once. Objection, these are private letters from years back. They have nothing to do with this custody case. But Kody's attorney sneered. Nothing to do with it, I believe the court will find them extremely relevant. He addressed the judge. Your Honor, these letters demonstrate Mrs. Brown's emotional instability, her uncertainty regarding her marriage to my client, and her continued emotional attachment to another man. Robyn's hands flew to her lips. That's not true. Those letters were therapy exercises. Assignments my counselor gave me to work out trauma. Kody's attorney didn't hear her. He took one of the letters out of the stack and read aloud. I miss how things used to be. Sometimes I wish I could turn back. Before the cameras, before the stress, before everything changed. He looked up. Your Honor, this was written while she was married to Mr. Brown. She admits missing her life with her ex-husband and questioning her choices. Robyn shook her head violently. That's not what I meant. Those letters were never sent. They were part of therapy. The judge frowned. Counsel, where did you obtain these? Kody's attorney stalled, just for the blink of an eye. They were discovered in common property, Your Honor. Robyn's eyes widened. You read through my boxes? She spat, glancing at Kody. He still wouldn't meet her gaze. He sat there, teeth clenched, acting as if she weren't there. You violated my privacy, she wept. Those letters were never meant to be read by anyone. The attorney smiled. Then maybe they shouldn't have held such troubling confessions. He read another page and started reading once more. Sometimes I feel like I'm losing myself in this life. Like I'm not Robyn anymore. I'm just part of someone else's story. The words landed in the room like thunder. Kody's expression remained flat, but his knuckles became white as he clutched the table. Robyn's attorney jumped up once more, angry. This is character assassination, he exclaimed. My client has been a faithful mother and mate. These private journals are being manipulated into something they're not. But it was too late. The courtroom was murmuring once again. Journalists wrote furiously. Cameras snapped, and Robyn felt her reputation disintegrating before her very eyes. Her hands shook as she blotted away tears. She spoke softly, to herself rather than anyone else. They were therapy letters. You know that, Kody. You know that. Even so, he did not stir. Did not flinch, did not stand up for her. After an uncomfortable silence, the judge let out a deep breath. Mr. Brown's attorney, I will permit this line of testimony for the moment, but tread carefully. This is not a theater for humiliation. The attorney nodded. Of course, Your Honor. He turned, his tone now more gentle, almost condescending. Mrs. Brown, I know this is hard, but the kids are at risk. Do you think these letters reflect your state of mind right now? Robyn blinked slowly, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, she answered definitely. Those letters were written years ago, when I was grappling with guilt for becoming a member of this family. I was healing. Her voice cracked as she gazed at Kody. You knew that. You were there when I discussed it. You told me I was brave to confront my feelings. Kody shifted restlessly. For a moment his mask broke. Guilt briefly flickered in his eyes. But he straightened his shoulders and averted his face. Robyn's attorney stood once more. Your Honor, if we are going to cross-examine private therapy letters, then we should also address the emails and text messages my office has received, penned by Mr. Brown, which reveal overt patterns of manipulation and intimidation. The crowd grumbled. Kody's attorney seemed uncomfortable now. The judge arched an eyebrow. Cautiously, Counselor. Robyn's lawyer nodded. Your Honor, we have texts where Mr. Brown says he will take everything from my client if she ever thought about leaving him. We'll introduce those when the time is right. Kody's attorney glared, speaking in a hushed tone to Kody's ear. Kody's jaw clenched, his face reddening. The gavel came down. That's enough for today. Court's in recess until tomorrow. The gavel rang out like a last warning. But for Robyn, it wasn't an ending. It was a beginning, something sinister. As people started to rise and leave, Robyn remained in her seat. The courtroom grew slow-moving empty. But she couldn't get up. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at the papers on the table in front of her. Duplicates of her own words used to be hurtful weapons. Kody finally got up. Their gazes locked. After days, time was suspended for a second. No words, no noise. Only two individuals looking at one another. The man who destroyed her heart, and the woman he was willing to destroy. "Why are you doing this to me?" Robyn whispered at last. "You said I was different. You said I was safe with you." Kody's face faltered, anger and regret. But then his voice, deep and cold. "Your choice, Robyn. Now mine." And he turned and walked away. Outside the courthouse, the press buzzed like bees. "Robyn, is it true you wrote to your ex? Do you still love Kody? Did you lie to the family?" Robyn ignored them, head bowed, holding the same photo she held yesterday. Her children smiling with Kody, but this time it was different. The smiles in that photo haunted her like ghosts from a past life. As she approached her car, her phone rang a new message. It was from an unknown caller. She hesitated, and then she opened it. "You think you can play victim, but the world will know who you are really." Her breath stopped. She recognized that voice, that tone, that wording style. It was Kody. She shut her eyes and breathed softly. "You're not battling for the kids. You're battling to kill me." A solitary tear slid down her cheek as she got into her car, focusing on the courthouse steps. Tomorrow, she vowed to herself, she would strike back. Tomorrow she would not cry. Tomorrow she would reveal to the world who the true manipulator was. For somewhere deep in that courtroom, buried beneath pain and betrayal, lay a truth that could bring everything crashing down. And when it finally surfaced, it wouldn't just ruin Kody's case. It would ruin his image, his pride, and perhaps his whole legacy. The courthouse was different the next morning. Tension from the previous day had given way to something chiller. Anticipation. Onlookers already stood outside, cameras held up high, whispering that a new witness will appear today. None knew who. Inside, Robyn sat in quiet. She was worn out, yet her eyes now held a new steadiness. The shaky fear from yesterday was gone. She had spent the evening reading over her own letters, telling herself that she didn't have anything to be ashamed of. Kody arrived a few minutes later, still refusing to meet her eye. His tie was blacker, his stance rigid. He needed control. He had to win. The judge stepped in and called the court to order. "Mr. Brown, you may proceed with presenting witnesses." Kody's attorney stood tall. "Your Honor, the defense would like to call a surprise witness who can address Mrs. Brown's emotional instability." Robyn furrowed her brow. Her attorney leaned over. "We weren't informed of this." The doors of the courtroom swung open. Each camera swiveled. And then, silence. Mary Brown entered. A collective gasp ran through the crowd. Even Kody's eyes widened for a brief moment. He hadn't thought she was going to actually appear. Mary moved slowly towards the stand, wearing a plain black blouse, her face expressionless. She didn't glance at Kody. She didn't glance at Robyn. She just kept her eyes fixed ahead. The bailiff administered the oath. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "I do." Kody's attorney moved forward, smiling as if he'd already won. "Mrs. Brown," he started smoothly, "you were a member of this family for many years, weren't you?" "Yes." "And you saw the relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Brown with your own eyes?" "I did." He nodded. "Was Mrs. Brown emotionally stable during her marriage?" Mary hesitated. The entire courtroom strained forward. At last she spoke softly. "No, but not why you're thinking." The lawyer blinked. "Excuse me?" Mary fixed Kody with a direct gaze for the first time. She wasn't crazy, she was afraid of him. A whispering wave swept the audience. Kody's attorney stood agog. "Your Honor," the judge held up a hand. "Let her go on." Mary's voice steadied, firm but full of sadness. "I saw the way Kody treated her when the cameras weren't rolling. When she disagreed, he'd ice her out for days. He'd remind her that she was lucky he'd chosen her at all." Kody slammed his hand on the table. "That's a lie." The judge banged the gavel. "Mr. Brown, control yourself." Mary didn't bat an eye. "You told me yourself, Kody. You said Robyn had to be put in her place after she asked you a question about money. You joked about it." Robyn's hand went to her mouth. Her attorney leaned forward. "This is crucial testimony." "Your Honor." The judge nodded. "Proceed." Mary went on. her eyes glassy but firm. You brought all those letters over today, stating she's not stable. But you never said anything to anyone about what you said to her on the night she wrote them. The courtroom fell silent once more. What night is that? The lawyer asked anxiously. The evening she discovered that you were stashing money, said Mary. She said she couldn't breathe. She said she was afraid if she spoke to you you'd destroy her reputation on TV. And you said, Mary gulped hard. You said you could ruin her with an episode. Kody reddened. Mary stopped manipulating. But Mary didn't. You wanted control, Kody, over us all. But when Robyn began to question, you turned her into a villain. Robyn remained stunned, sobbing quietly. Each sentence was like someone flinging an unlocked gate within her heart, where she'd struggled to keep it locked. Her attorney rose. Your Honor, this testimony indubitably demonstrates emotional manipulation by Mr. Brown. It also provides context for those therapy letters. Kody's attorney barked. This is hearsay. No, Mary whispered. It's truth. She faced Robyn, voice cracking. I regret I didn't say something earlier. I believed if I just kept my mouth shut, it would be over. But it never happened. It simply transpired from wife to wife. The judge leaned back in his chair, blowing slowly out. We'll have a brief recess. She slammed the gavel, and the courtroom dissolved into commotion. Reporters murmuring, onlookers gasping. Camera flashes detonating like firecrackers. Robyn sat alone in the hallway during the break, trembling. Her attorney brought her a glass of water, but she didn't even touch it. I don't get it, Robyn whispered. Why would Mary assist me now? Perhaps she's finally had enough of being quiet. Her attorney responded softly. A few feet away, Kody paced furiously with his lawyer. She betrayed me, he hissed. Mary's just resentful because I moved on. His attorney spoke back under his breath. We can still spin it, but you have to remain calm when we get back. Kody tightened his fists. She's attempting to kill me. When the recess finished, the judge summoned everyone back. Mrs. Brown, she addressed Mary. You may be seated. But Mary remained standing. Actually, Your Honor, there's something additional. Kody groaned. Oh, for God's sake. I have proof. Mary cut in. Messages Kody sent me after he filed this lawsuit. The judge's brow rose. Messages. Mary held up her phone. He texted me the night before court began. He said, if you support me tomorrow, I'll get you the house in Flagstaff. A gasp echoed through the courtroom. Robyn's attorney almost dropped his pen. Your Honor, that's witness tampering. Kody's attorney went pale. Objection, we don't know the authenticity. But Mary handed her phone to the bailiff. Look at the timestamps. They're real. The judge scrutinized the evidence in silence, her face growing darker by the second. After a lengthy silence, she declared harshly, this court will investigate these messages. But if true, they show an attempt at influencing a witness. That is a very serious offense, Mr. Brown. Kody's mouth dropped open, but nothing came out. For once the man who had something to say about everything was at a loss for words. When Mary resigned, she walked by Kody without even glancing at him. As she approached the door, she stopped just long enough to mutter under her breath, loud enough for only him to hear. You can't control the truth anymore. Kody's eyes blazed with anger. The remainder of the session was a disaster. Reporters departed to make breaking news posts. Viewers outside watched live streams, saying Mary just flipped the entire case. Inside, Robyn sat frozen, trying to wrap her head around what had just occurred. Her attorney leaned in. This changes everything. The judge can't help but pay attention to it. His credibility has been destroyed. But Robyn wasn't gloating. She gazed at Kody, the guy who once said she was his spiritual soulmate, and saw nothing of familiarity remain. Just a stranger sitting in silence, his empire disintegrating brick by brick. When court recessed for the day, Robyn stepped outside into a whirlwind of microphones and flashbulbs. How do you feel following Mary's testimony? Do you think you'll win custody now? She didn't reply. She simply shook her head and said softly, I didn't want to win this way. I just wanted peace. Then she turned and disappeared, leaving the murmur of the crowd behind her. That evening, Kody sat alone in his truck in the courthouse parking lot. Rain pounded against the windshield, obscuring the city lights. His phone rang, a call from an unknown number. You can still mend this, but the truth must be revealed. He looked at it, bewildered. Mary? Robyn? Production? He did not respond. Kody Brown felt fear for the first time in years, not of losing money or fame, but of losing control. Because deep down, he knew what was still hidden. Mary's testimony was only the beginning. There was another secret, one buried even deeper, that if revealed, could destroy him completely. And as Robyn prepared to return to court for the next round, she had no idea that the most explosive piece of evidence wasn't in Mary's phone. It was about to come from someone else entirely. Someone Kody never expected to turn against him. The next morning, the courthouse was swarming with cameras again. The world had seen Mary's testimony. Every headline screamed the same words. Mary betrays Kody in court. New evidence destroys Kody's case. Fans camped outside, holding posters that read "Justice for Robyn." But inside that courtroom, justice didn't feel victorious. It felt heavy. Robyn was early, dressed in plain black. Her lawyer reminded her to remain calm, to allow the truth to speak for itself. But Robyn was not calm. She hadn't slept. She replayed every sentence Mary uttered, every glance Kody cast. When Kody entered, the atmosphere changed once more. He was broken-looking, dark rings around his eyes, suit creased, jaw clenched. He was no longer the confident man who initiated this fight. He was trapped. The judge came in. "We will proceed with testimony and hearing of new evidence filed yesterday." Robyn's attorney rose. "Your Honor, if I may, my client would like to speak to the court personally." Kody's attorney protested at once. "She doesn't have to make a statement." But the judge held up a hand. "Overruled. Mrs. Brown, you have the floor." Robyn rose, her heart thudding so loudly she could hear it ringing. She gazed directly at Kody, the man she thought was her forever. "Your Honor," she started, her voice shaking but firm. "I didn't come here to hurt my husband. I came here because he already hurt us." The room went quiet. Even the reporters ceased typing. "I had faith in our marriage. I had faith in him," Robyn said, gesturing gently towards Kody. "He said to me I was his last hope for love. He said to me I was special. But the minute I began to question things, about the money, about the deceit, suddenly I was crazy. Suddenly I was the issue." Kody squirmed uncomfortably, looking back and forth from the judge to his attorney. Robyn went on, her voice gaining power. "Those letters you discovered, Kody, the ones you termed evidence of my instability, I wrote them because I was afraid. Because I couldn't tell you things anymore without you turning everything around." A hum ran through the courtroom. Robyn's voice trembled. "Do you recall the night you told me you'd take the kids away, if you ever felt I embarrassed you again? That was the night I penned that letter." Kody rose to his feet. "That never occurred." Robyn fixed him with a hard gaze. "It did. You said it just before you slammed the door." The judge rapped the gavel. "Mr. Brown, sit down. You'll have your say." He sat, face blazing red. Robyn glared at her hands for an instant before she went on. "I didn't fight this. I pleaded with you not to do this. I wanted therapy, I wanted peace, but you wanted to be in control. And when you couldn't control me, you took my children out." Her attorney placed a soft touch on her arm, but Robyn moved her head. She wasn't finished. "You used Mary. You used the cameras. You used everyone to make yourself out to be the victim. But the truth is," her voice shattered, "you're the one who left us." There wasn't a breath in the room. Even Kody's attorney didn't flinch. Then suddenly, Kody laughed. A short, hard laugh that caused everyone to freeze. "Left you behind?" he whispered. "I gave you everything. My name, my house, my time, my heart. And what did I receive? Betrayal, deceit. You drove everyone away from me, Robyn." She shook her head. "No, Kody. You did it to yourself." His voice did rise. "You think you're the only one who's been hurt? You think this family's collapse had anything to do with me? You were the one telling the kids that I was poison. You poisoned them against me." Robyn's tears overran. "I told them the truth. They saw you yell at me. They saw you storm out every time we reached out for assistance. Because you never stopped blaming me." He bellowed, pounding his fist on the table. The judge slammed the gavel. "Mr. Brown, get yourself together, or I'll have you removed from my courtroom." But Kody didn't let up. "This is all an act. You're acting, Robyn. Just like you always do." Crying on camera so people will pity you. Robyn spoke softly. The cameras aren't here now. The courtroom fell utterly silent. Kody halted. The judge glared at him. For the first time, he appeared to grasp how far he'd gone. Robyn's attorney moved in. Your Honor, this is the very thing my client has been afraid of. This is not the behavior of a healthy co-parent. It's intimidation. Kody's attorney rubbed his brow, attempting to get the situation back under control. Your Honor, my client is in emotional distress. This case has been. The judge stopped him. That's enough. Mr. Brown, sit down. I've seen enough for today. Kody leaned back in his chair, his chest gasping. He seemed dazed. Robyn wiped away her tears, trying to regain some composure. The judge spoke to her. Mrs. Brown, do you have anything else you wish to present before we recess? Robyn nodded faintly. Yes, Your Honor. I want to present this. She passed over a small flash drive. What's on it? The judge asked. A recording? Robyn said softly. From the night before he filed this case. Kody's head snapped up. What recording? Robyn didn't look at him. The night you told me you'd ruin me if I ever tried to leave. The courtroom gasped again. The judge's tone hardened. We'll review this immediately. Kody's lawyer stood in panic. Your Honor, we don't know if that recording is admissible. The judge interrupted him. I'll rule on that after review. Court will be in recess for an hour. She slammed the gavel, and the courtroom erupted in murmurs. During the recess, Kody charged into the hallway, pushing through reporters. You think you're going to trap me? He bellowed at Robyn. Across the hall. You don't have any idea what you've done. Robyn remained calm this time. Yes, Kody, I do. Security moved in between them. Kody's attorney took his arm, whispering angrily. You're going to blow this. Do you want to lose everything? Kody pulled away. She's lying. She's lied the whole time. But inside his hands were shaking, because he knew what was on that tape. And if the judge heard it, it would be over. The courtroom reassembled an hour later. Everyone sat and waited, as the judge deliberated from her chambers, reading from the file. When she did return at last, the room fell silent once more. She set down her glasses on the desk, and stared straight at Kody. Mr. Brown, she started off. The recording presented by Mrs. Brown is genuine and can be accepted. It features a clear threat issued by you to her custody rights and public image. The court deems this evidence highly troubling. Kody turned pale. The judge went on. Until a complete investigation has been carried out, interim full custody will be with Mrs. Brown. In addition, Mr. Brown shall have no unsupervised contact with the children. The words strike like thunder. Robyn's hand flies up to her mouth in shock. Kody's chair squeaks loudly across the floor as he stands, angry. You can't take my kids away, he bellows. You don't understand. She's manipulating you. Enough, the judge exclaimed harshly. Sit down, or you will be held in contempt of court. Kody stiffened. His body trembled as if all his strength had just been sucked out. For the first time, Robyn saw it. The breakdown of the man she once referred to as her soulmate. He wasn't strong any longer. He wasn't angry, he was just broken. Kody slumped back in his seat, his hands clamped to his head. The whole courtroom sat in stunned silence, while the once strong patriarch at last lost his grip on reality. Robyn glanced back at him, for a final time, mumbling under her breath. This wasn't supposed to end like this. Perhaps, though, it always had been. After court recessed, journalists mobbed once more. Kody Brown loses custody. Secret recording shocks the judge. Outside, Robyn stood beneath the gray afternoon sky, where flashes of cameras and questions she did not desire to answer surrounded her. She just said, I just want my kids to feel safe again, before entering her car. Inside the courthouse, Kody remained alone hours after everyone had departed. The same man who once reigned supreme over his family now sat in quiet contemplation, gazing at the vacant judge's bench. In the silence, a solitary tear rolled down his cheek. But it wasn't sadness, it was fear, because he knew it wasn't finished. There was one hearing remaining, and one individual, someone he hadn't anticipated, still had the authority to complete what Robyn initiated. The final day of the last hearing was colder than any other. The courthouse was encircled by press, police barricades and fans who were present to see what would happen, holding signs that stated, "Justice for the Browns and truth always triumphs." But within those walls of the courtroom, There was no cheering, only silence. The silence that precedes change. Robyn sat quietly next to her attorney, her grip on a tissue. Her hands still shook from the previous hearing, when Kody had lost temporary custody. Today would determine everything. The judge walked in, the room standing up to their feet. Cameras snapped from the press benches, capturing the ultimate showdown. Kody entered last. His formerly immaculate suit was rumpled, his face gaunt. His attorney's eyes were bloodshot, as if he hadn't slept either. Kody didn't so much as look at Robyn. He merely sat down, gazing straight at the vacant witness stand before him. Court is in session, the judge declared sternly. This is the last custody hearing for Kody and Robyn Brown. Robyn's attorney stepped forward. Your Honor, we have offered proof of manipulation, intimidation, and threats. But before we end our case, there is another witness who wants to testify. Kody's attorney frowned. Another surprise witness. We weren't notified of this. The judge spoke. If it has a direct bearing on the well-being of the children, I'll let you do it. Robyn's attorney nodded. It does, Your Honor. The doors of the courtroom swung open. Everyone looked. And then, the gasp started. Walking in, serene but obviously distraught, was Janelle Brown. Kody's jaw fell. No, he breathed to himself. Janelle sat down, not looking at him. The bailiff administered the oath. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Robyn's attorney moved forward. Mrs. Janelle Brown, you've known both parties for many years, correct? Yes, she replied softly. I was married to Kody nearly 30 years. And you were friendly with Robyn. I was, Janelle replied. We weren't always best friends, but we had respect for each other. The lawyer nodded. Mrs. Brown, do you have something that you can tell the court today about why you wish to be heard? Janelle drew a deep breath. Because the truth still hasn't been told, she whispered. Kody finally spoke. Janelle, don't do this. She looked at him for the first time, her eyes steady. You did this to yourself. The judge motioned for her to continue. Janelle folded her hands. Your Honor, 3 days before this case began, Kody came to my house. He asked me to testify against Robyn, to say she was unstable, manipulative, and dangerous to the children. Kody's lawyer jumped up. Objection. This is unverified. Janelle held up a hand. I have evidence. She dug into her bag and took out her phone. He sent me a text. He said, if you assist me, I'll see to it that you receive your half of the Coyote Pass settlement. Gasps erupted in the courtroom. Robyn's attorney moved closer. Your Honor, this is the second recorded effort by Mr. Brown to bribe a witness in this case. The judge's face became stern. Go on, Mrs. Brown. Janelle shook her head. When I said no, he lost his temper. He accused me of being in on it with Robyn, that she was coordinating an attack on him with producers. But I wasn't doing that. Robyn wasn't either. He was, actually. Kody pounded his fists on the table. That's it. You think you know what I've done? You don't know anything. The judge rapped the gavel. Mr. Brown, one more display of disrespect, and I'll have you removed. The room fell silent once again. Janelle's tone turned soft. Kody, you were a good man once, but somewhere along the way, you chose power over family. You've hurt everyone who ever tried to love you. Her vision welled up with tears. You don't have to win this case. You already lost the only thing that counted. Us. The judge glared at Kody. Would you like to respond before I render my decision? Kody rose slowly, slumping his shoulders. For the first time he wasn't angry. He was just weary. I know what people think of me, he started. They think I'm the bad guy, the greedy husband who destroyed his family. Perhaps they are correct. Perhaps I pushed too hard to keep what was already lost. He glanced at Robyn. I never wanted to hurt you. I wanted to protect what little we had left. But every time he tried, it slipped further away. Robyn's eyes brimmed, but she said nothing. Kody's voice was shaky. I lost Christine. I lost Janelle. I lost Mary. You were everything that was left. Robyn and I ruined that too. He stared at his shaking hands. I'm sorry. No one said anything for a moment. The courtroom was locked up. Not in terror, but in shock that Kody Brown, the man who never issued an apology, had finally spoken the words everyone thought they'd never hear. The judge nodded, pushing her glasses up, her voice firm but weighted. Mr. Brown, she said. The facts established in this case create a stark picture of coercive control and emotional manipulation. The court cannot ignore the threats, the bribes, or the recordings. Kody shut his eyes. The judge went on. So, full custody of the minor children goes to Mrs. Robyn Brown. Mr. Brown will be awarded supervised visitation, subject to further evaluation. The room was filled with a collective gasp. It was done. Robyn silently wept, hiding her face in her hands. Her attorney hugged her softly, whispering, "You did it. It's done." Kody remained frozen. He simply glared at the floor, jaw set, breathing lightly. The judge rose. "This court is adjourned." She struck the gavel, and just like that, decades of confusion were over with one blow of wood on steel. Reporters rushed towards Robyn as she left the courtroom. "Robyn, what can you say about the verdict? Do you forgive Kody?" She paused for a moment, gazing directly at the cameras. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes bloodshot, but her voice was tranquil. "I don't want revenge," she whispered. "I just want peace. For my kids. And maybe someday, for Kody too." And then she walked away, vanishing into the blinding brightness of the hallway. Inside, Kody sat by himself, remaining seated well after the rest of them had departed. The courtroom was deserted, save for the sound of his own respiration. He glanced around at the empty benches, the witness stand, the judge's chair, all emblems of a power that now belonged to someone else. His phone vibrated. A text. He paused before reading it. "From Mary, it's over. Let it go before it destroys you completely." He glared at the words, his eyes welling up, but rather than respond, he set the phone aside and glanced at the door through which Robyn had exited. For the first time in years, there was no rage remaining, only regret. Later that night, as the sun dipped below Flagstaff, Robyn sat on her porch, watching her children play softly in the backyard. The air hung still and serene. For the first time in months, there was no yelling, no threats, no fear, only laughter. Her youngest daughter came running up to her, clinging to a small toy. "Mom, are we safe now?" Robyn smiled gently, tears brimming her eyes. "Yes, sweetheart, we're safe now." She gazed upward at the disappearing sky, whispering a soft prayer, not for victory, but for healing. While the rest of town enjoyed its sunset, Kody remained by the side of his truck, gazing at it in the same glow. He spoke to himself in a low tone. "I wanted a family, and I lost them all." One tear fell down his cheek. He quickly wiped it away, but nobody saw. No cameras were around, no viewers. Silence. And for the first time the silence felt earned.